Okay, the time-jumping detective's name is going to be George Alma. Mr. George Alma. They'll say, Mr. Alma, I need your help. And you'll say, please, call me George. It's my parents' names, George and Alma. But Alma is a last name as well. It can be used as a last name. And my parents taught me everything that I am. And if you've watched my the music box video, it was watching my dad time jumping when I was a kid and watching my mum help him out of it when we were in Whakarewarewa on holiday up north when I was a kid. That started all of this. My parents started all of this by investigating unsolved mysteries and murders and all of that, and my mum teaching me how to enhance my gifts, and the two of them combined created me, created this, created all that I am. So the time jumping detective his name is going to be Mr. George Alma. My father's name was Sergeant Major George Edward Patrick Callahan, and my mother was Alma Callahan. So yeah, George Alma, Mr. Alma. They'll call him Mr. Alma, but he'll say, please call me George. Oh my God, I love that so much. What a way to honour my parents. As for his companion, I was thinking something like Eddie. That's, my father's name was George Edward Patrick. Patrick was his confirmation name because he had a Catholic dad and a Sunni Muslim mum. So I was thinking of calling him Eddie, but I'll put a pin in that. But for now, my time jumping detective's going to be, his name's going to be George Alma. Alma. And, oh, hang on, going to sneeze. Want a kiss? To a wish? Make a wish. I wish for justice so I can get out of here and go to Switzerland. Come on. So, yeah, so I'll put a pin in Eddie for now, for the companion, but the time jumping detective is going to be Mr. George Alma. He's going to live in a block of flats. I want him to be maybe in his 50s or 60s. Like I always see him as an older guy, much like my dad actually. Yeah, much like my dad. Retired, or like, because people can't know that he's an immortal time jumper who works for heaven and hell. So his neighbours think like, oh, he's a widow, or he's a retired cop or a retired army dude, and he's a widow, and he lives in these retirement flats and blah. They have no idea who and what he is, and some stuff goes on in his neighbourhood, some stuff goes on in his country, some stuff goes on in other countries, some stuff goes on in other planets. But when he gets called to investigate, yeah, boom, he does. So yeah, but I always envisage him being sort of an older, sort of distinguished gentleman in his 50s or 60s, with like grey hair or greying hair, grey hair, sort of not Michael Caine. I'm trying to think of somebody that I can say kind of reminds me of him. Yeah, I can see him in my head. I just can't remember his name. Is it Ed Woodward? Woodard? Edward Woodward? Edward Woodward? Ed Woodward? I can see his face. I can't remember his name. Yeah, he's kind of got that clean shaven, sort of very distinguished gentleman, sort of fair greying hair. Yeah, I'll know the actor as soon as he walks in. I'll know him because I can see his face. So yeah, it's a start. Mr. George Alma. That's going to be his name. The time jumping detective's name is going to be Mr. George Alma. So put a pin in Eddie for the sidekick. It's basically paying homage to my parents. What a beautiful way to do it. They created all of they didn't just create me, they created all that I became. So yeah, this is, I'll put a link in the description box for the music box where I'm telling the story about how I became an occult physicist and time jumper through watching my dad and the way my mum was his protector. He was terrified of it though, he didn't understand it, and it was in him not understanding it that made me want to study it to figure out what it was he couldn't understand. And as a result I became an occult physicist, and now I do all of this, and I'm turning it into an entertainment empire, and I'm going to teach kids how to deal with it, because my dad couldn't deal with it when he was a kid. Being raised Catholic and Muslim, it messed with his head about, what was actually going on because of how he was raised with those, two religions. So, but I would have been able to explain it better. He would have appreciated my scientific explanation more than my religious one. Like, I think I would have made sense to him. And me wanting to help my dad understand who he was and what we all were, I became an occult physicist. And now I'll help other people, especially children, like him, like he was, understand it all in a way that will make sense, and then they won't be afraid of it like my dad was. Because my dad was scared of it. He didn't understand. It terrified him because his Muslim Catholic mind gave him all these answers that weren't real. They weren't true. So I wanted to figure it out for him so that he would understand it and not be afraid. Because when the stuff started happening to me as a kid and a teenager, I wasn't scared, I was fascinated. I needed to know why. I was born with a brain needing to know why. And as a result, I'm an ascension scientist, I'm a biorhythmic engineer, and I'm an occult scientist. Occult physicist, rather. Because the occult is all physics. So, physics and faith. So yeah. So now just his sidekick. The companion. I'm I'm leaning towards one of two things. Eddie Watson, because Watson was my mum's maiden name, Edward is my father's middle name, but because I kind of was saying yesterday that I wouldn't mind to give it some sort of Sherlock Holmes, a Holmes and Watson kind of feel. So it would be like a play on my mum's maiden name, but also paying homage to Holmes and Watson, because he is a detective, he is a private investigator. He's got that Sherlock Holmes kind of look to him. But there's another name I'm thinking that I'm kind of throwing about, and that's Fraser. And it's not just because that's my mum's clan Fraser of Lovett, but my familiar, Ghibli, his name was Fraser. He was Ghibli Fraser. And he was my best friend and he was my familiar, and so I could call him Fraser Watson, but just call him Fraser. It means wild strawberries in French. So I could make his character, his companion, French. And there's a lot of French people that live in and around Switzerland, and a lot of Swiss people that can speak French. But where my foundation would be is right between France and Italy and Germany, like not far from either three borders. So it means that I could find myself like a French actor to play Fraser. Or Fraser, it's not Fraser, it's Fraser. Um, and the thing is, for the most part, when he's doing investigations in his town and area, the foundation, we can make it, like the grounds and everything, we can make it look like the town. So, like, for example, when he's doing the Busybodies episode, the very first episode that's based in his town, we'll have the parks and the shops and everything to make it look like it's his town, because it will be his town. A Boracom will be where he lives. That will be the name of his town. And when I was writing the series, it was totally with the knowing that I was building it so that we could totally make it look like he was investigating different towns and villages and that sort of thing, without having to leave the grounds of my foundation. And then for outside, I mean, like I said, we've got France, Germany, Italy, Austria, we've got all these places just like right there for filming locations. So Eddie Watson, Mr. Alma, and Mr. Watson, Mr. Alma, and but they'll probably. I don't think his last name's really going to be that important. He'll just be called Fraser or Eddie. Yeah, but he'll be younger. He'll be a younger guy. He's still kind of coming to terms with his ability to teleport. I haven't put meat on the bones for that yet because I literally just came up with it between last night and this morning. But that is something that will grow. I'm so excited. I'm so proud of how I've designed the foundation. We're going to save so much money. We're going to save so much money, I'm telling you. I'm going to keep so many people employed. I'm going to employ so many people in all kinds of trades and skills and everything. I'm going to need people that know how to build sets and stages, and we're going to need people that like roadies and light and sound and visual effects, and oh my god, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm getting so excited. So he's either going to be Eddie Watson, but they'll just call him Eddie, or he'll be Fraser Watson, but they'll just call him Fraser. Yeah. I'm so excited.